Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new or you haven't watched it yet, please watch my video William's Flight, because you'll see that there was a lot of stress and craziness that was already going on, and our emotions and our thought processes are affected by our surroundings, and that just added to what I was already going through inside. So I feel like if you watch the video, and you won't even believe like what had happened when William got to the airport, but if you watch that, then you'll understand, oh wow, there was a lot of stuff going on already before even having to deal with emotions as a blind person. So before we begin, grab yourself a tea, a coffee, or some snacks. This might be a longer video. I have myself a nice hot cup of apple cider. Yes, it's full of sugar and probably not good for you, but it tastes so good. But right now we're going to be talking about my blind perspective. So for those of you who are new and you don't know, I was not born blind. I started going blind 5 years ago. 6 years ago. Yeah. And I am not successful in my blind life yet. I am still trying to figure out how in the world to live this life. When you lose your sight, you go through the stages of grief. And everyone thinks, that's the stages you go through and then you move on. Because anything else in life, you do that. But there's a lot of things and a lot of times you don't do that, and every time you come to a major life event, whether good or bad, and you're moving on forward in life and you're facing new challenges, you have to re-go through those stages all over again. These last 2 years, there were times in my life where I was realizing if I wasn't blind, it actually would have been a little bit easier. And it's not saying something like, how people say, oh, if I had $1 million, my life would be easier. I'm not saying that, and that's not the same concept, because I've never had $1 million, and people who say that they've never had $1 million, so they don't know what that really is like. This is a true saying. The reason I know that is because I have had sight before. And half of the problems and difficulties and stress that we had to go through, it would not have been half as hard if I had a full-time job. So, William's Flight. How did I deal with that as a blind person? Well, I was so fixated on preparing myself emotionally in case there was a problem at customs, or in case there was a problem at pickup, or in case there was a problem because of COVID restrictions. I had focused on making sure I was prepared emotionally if we were not able to bring my husband home from the airport that day. I completely forgot to emotionally prepare myself for what it was going to be like picking my husband up from the airport. I'm really kicking myself for that, but I'm not being too hard on myself because emotionally I'm exhausted, and when you're emotionally exhausted, it's very hard for you to head. So I'm very glad that I have that understanding, and I am being patient with myself moving forward. All of the other moments in my life I knew were going to be trigger points. I knew was going to be hard to deal with. Like my first trip to the Philippines, I prepared myself. I knew I wasn't going to see things that other people were seeing, and I knew it was going to be hard to hear people around me talk about the sights that I was not able to enjoy. At my wedding, I prepared myself emotionally. If you watch my video, Blind Bride Breakdown, where I talk about how emotionally frustrated I was as a blind individual not being able to see my wedding. I had prepared for those moments. I didn't prepare this time. Completely by accident. The hardest part was when we were picking because there's not the excitement or the realistic feeling of looking out the window and watching for them. Like just, watching, waiting for a glimpse. And then, that excitement of finally seeing them, that it's finally real, that it's finally happening. So I'm very grateful for the people in my life who described me, there he is, he's 20 feet away, he's 50 feet away, he's coming closer. I'm grateful for that. At the same time, I don't know how to describe the feeling, because it's not quite frustration and it's not quite grief, it's not quite anger. I'm not really sure the exact words to describe it, but there's this emotion that you feel tired of you feel like you have to live your own life in your own moments through other people. And I'm sure other people who've lost independence or have lost certain things will understand what I'm saying. I have no idea how to properly portray this to somebody who hasn't experienced it. But that's what it feels like. It feels like no moments are mine. No moments are personal. Like I said, I'm very grateful for people describing to me, and I want them to describe it to me. How do I deal with something like that? I think that's important to focus on. I think it's important to discuss this kind of stuff. Because, excuse me, nose blowing break. So I really think it's important for people to understand the depth of emotion that's going on. And the reason I'm sharing this, it's not for sighted people to judge me. Okay? If you're sighted and you have an opinion about, oh, you're just having a pity party, shut up. You don't deal with what I deal with on a regular basis. If you're a sighted person that you're like, oh, I never even thought that this is something that goes on, thank you for being willing to learn. Thank you for being willing to understand the depth of emotions that people have to go through just living life. Moving forward, so in my mind now, I need to remember when I'm coming up to something that's important, that's an iconic moment in my life, I need to prepare for that emotionally. Prepare that, yes, someone is going to be there, someone is going to describe what's going on, and I need to tell myself that I am thankful for that. Because, yes, I am really thankful for someone to describe and narrate to me what is happening. Because it would be a very lonely and hurtful world if I was there and had no one telling me what was happening. So that's what I had to deal with. And then finally, by the time he reached the track, I had gotten out. Excuse me. I cough when I cry. It's really weird. I had gotten out of the truck and was standing outside. I wanted to give him a hug as soon as I could. And in that moment, I was so happy to feel him in my arms and to feel him there and just know he was finally there. It felt like a dream. It didn't feel real. We were so excited about that, and I gave him a great big hug. He was sick on the plane, so he didn't want to give me a kiss because he was embarrassed because he knew that he smelled from being sick. Travel sickness, before anyone freaks out, travel sickness, motion sickness, that's what that is. And then on the way home, I was a little bit more silent because I was dealing with two emotions. I was so happy that he was there. I was glad that all of this was finally over, that we were on the way home, that we could restart our life. I was so happy about all of that. But I was still grieving that that I had to live my life, live that moment through other people to be able to feel that moment. You're very grateful for their help. You're very grateful for the role that they play. But you get tired of at everyone else's convenience. Tips that I would give to other people that are dealing with stuff like this. I understand that you're exhausted and you're tired. But remind yourself that you are thankful for some of the supports that are in place, even though it may not be a perfect situation. Life continues to go on, and you have to continue to move forward with it. Because things that don't learn how to move forward get stuck in a place that no one likes. You don't like being there as a person, and people don't like you being there as bystanders, because people who often stay stagnant end up exactly like stagnant water. Stinky and gross. And I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but that can happen. I try to be on top of it to make sure that I don't do that, but there's not really a ton that I can do outside of just telling myself I have to keep moving forward. And that's become my drive to keep moving, to keep going, to just focus on the next thing and get the next thing done, and then focus on the next thing. There's moments when I have this utter hopelessness. I just feel completely hopeless. And I wish I could crawl into a cave and just go to sleep, and that's it. And there's moments that I feel like that. But those are moments. Those moments are not lifetimes. Those are moments. And while you're in that moment, it might feel forever. And your moment might last a week, or a month, or a year. But remind yourself, this is going to pass. And you need to be there for what comes next. Because usually what comes next is so amazing, it was worth that moment. In those moments, they either teach us something very important, or they help to push us in the right direction. In blind life, you're going to go through a situation that's going to teach you something. So me going through all of that with picking my husband up and those feelings, it teaches me I cannot get over how important it is to prepare for the next time. To prepare emotionally for the next time, what that feels like. And sometimes it can help push you in the right direction. And I don't owe society anything other than being a good person. I'm not responsible for making other people feel good, or I'm not responsible to teach other people about blindness. But I view that as that is a opportunity to help make my future life and the life if I had ever had children that were going to be blind, that they would be able to have a better future because of the opportunities that I've been given. So I know there was a lot of rambling and maybe not a lot of direction. Good luck. Probably John is going to help edit this. Good luck. But that's what I was dealing with as a blind person. If you lasted this long, write in the comments that you made it to the end, because that's amazing. I can't stand listening to myself when having to re-edit or add elements to my video or anything like that. But thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a lot. There's a lot of emotions in there, a lot of processing, and I'm really sorry if it triggered anybody. That's never my focus. It's never my purpose to trigger anyone dealing with stuff, but I think it's important to talk about some of these things, because if you have a friend that's dealing with something, it's hard to support them if you don't know what they're going through, and a lot of people don't want to talk about this. This isn't pretty. No one watches videos like these. No one wants to watch a video where you're bawling your eyes out about how life, has messed things up. But thank you for watching and taking time to understand it from my perspective and what I was having to go through and deal with. And it's very hard because on the inside, you're completely breaking apart. And for me, I did not want to be breaking apart. I wanted my husband's first time in Canada, his first time here. I wanted it to be amazing for him. And he is very emotionally aware when I'm not okay. And he lets me have a time where I just, I don't even know the word. I decompress is the word. But I wanted him to have a very good time when he first got here. And so I really wanted to hide that. So on the outside, it seemed like everything was great. I was excited, nervous, but on the inside, it felt like my emotions and insides were going through a blender. But anyways, thank you so much for watching.